In 2018, China's Evergrande Group became the world's most valuable real estate brand. However, over the past few years, Evergrande has had a major problem. It's been expanding at record pace, but piling on extreme amounts of debt. Currently, the firm has over 310 billion US dollars in liabilities and owe money to 128 banks and 120 non-banking institutions. Financial markets were hit hard on Monday morning as investors began imagining what would happen if one of China's biggest real estate companies became insolvent. What are the impacts of this Evergrande fiasco for China and the rest of the world? Well, I'll break it all down in a new video today. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cyrus and I make weekly vlogs about China and its role in our global economy. Is this Evergrande crisis China's Lehman Brothers moment? This is certainly the trending question at the moment and something that everybody is wondering. Lehman Brothers, of course, was the American financial service firm that went bankrupt in 2008, triggering the worldwide economic collapse. Are we at risk of China starting the next worldwide financial crisis? I will confidently say that the answer to that question is no. Evergrande will not be a Lehman Brothers moment for China, and the primary difference is that Lehman Brothers bankruptcy was a complete surprise to almost everyone, even top-level Lehman Brothers employees who had no idea of the firm's bankruptcy risk. Evergrande is different. Everyone from analysts, investors, and most certainly the Chinese government have been well aware of Evergrande's rising debt levels. In 2018, China's central bank announced a list of domestic companies that might pose systemic risk to the Chinese financial system. And guess which company was at the top of that list? Evergrande. The situation behind Evergrande is very clear. It has been overloaded with debt and is currently in a cash crunch, unable to pay suppliers and contractors, which in turn means they are unable to complete projects and collect much needed cash. The company faces an important 80 million US dollar bond payment this Thursday, and in total has over 7.4 billion US dollars of bonds maturing in 2022. Currently, the firm has over 800 projects in production. However, nearly 400 of them have been stopped due to this debt crisis. In the past few years, Evergrande tried to raise additional capital through stock and bond offerings, but were unsuccessful. Instead, the company turned to issuing commercial paper, which, if you are unfamiliar with the term, is a type of unsecured short-term debt issued by corporations that's typically used to finance payroll, accounts payable, and inventories. The big problem for Evergrande is that they relied heavily on commercial paper to pay for suppliers and construction partners. For example, in the Jiangsu province, Evergrande paid the Nantong Sanjian Construction Group just 8% cash and the rest in commercial paper. Evergrande has always been extremely aggressive in acquiring land with absurdly high leverage. For example, some of these commercial paper notes carry expiration dates of just 6 months and annualized interest rates exceeding 20%. The Chinese government has largely been silent on the situation with Evergrande. Ding Shuang, a chief economist at Standard Chartered in Hong Kong, recently stated, "Even though most people don't expect Evergrande to collapse all of a sudden, the silence and a lack of major actions from policymakers is making everyone panic. I expect China to at least offer some verbal support soon to stabilize sentiment." Now, China has been on a nationwide holiday the last couple of days with the Mid-Autumn Festival. However, I would almost guarantee that regulators don't yet have a full understanding of Evergrande's complete debt problems. Evergrande hired a new set of financial advisors to guide the company through this difficult time. However, the Chinese government also brought in a set of their own financial advisors to assess the situation. No doubt these teams are working hard to fully understand the full extent of the problem, and most likely will make an official statement once they have finished their assessments and have devised a plan of action for Evergrande. Again, I want to reiterate that the Chinese government has known about Evergrande and other debt-heavy real estate developers for many years now. Over a year ago, the Chinese government began putting in place several policies to put pressure and start to control these developers with high debt levels. For example, rules on how many units can be developed, installing a price ceiling for property values, and even controlling the speed of how fast a project can be completed. What we are seeing right now is simply a cash crunch. One of the possibilities would be China's central government encouraging local provincial governments to invest in Evergrande to help solve this cash flow problem. We actually saw this happen before in November 2020 when firms owned by the city governments of Shenzhen and Guangzhou bought equity worth 30 billion yuan, equivalent to 4.6 billion US dollars, from existing investors in恒大Real Estate, a unit that holds Evergrande's main property assets in China. On Wednesday, September 22nd, the People's Bank of China injected 120 billion yuan, approximately 18.6 billion US dollars, into the banking system through reverse repurchase agreements. This was seen as a move from the government to calm market jitters and prevent a possible market plunge. Although the Chinese government hasn't said much yet about Evergrande, one thing is clear. The company most likely will not be getting a full government bailout. The People's Bank of China will do whatever it takes to prevent this from becoming a full-blown crisis. They have gone on the record in the past to say that they will never have a Lehman moment, and learning from the mistakes of the previous financial crisis is a big advantage for China. It's in the best interest of China's government to use its tools to create an orderly restructure and prevent Evergrande from being insolvent. The priority is going to be for individual investors who put money down on an apartment to make sure that they get a property that they were promised. This is a huge priority for China's government, as there are a total of 1.5 million pre-sale units that have been sold to investors. And there is a risk, of course, that these projects may never get finished. Also, there have been millions of people who invested in the wealth management side of the company. And they, along with many other suppliers and contractors, all need to get paid. Now, I have to be honest with everyone. This is going to take some time for China and the government to solve this problem. Things will get ugly before they get better. However, it's important to note that in every crisis there is opportunity. In fact, this is even represented in the Chinese word for crisis, 危机. The second character in the Chinese word for crisis, 机, is also the first character in the Chinese word for opportunity, 机会. Several years ago, President Xi set out 3 major battles for the government: poverty, pollution, and financial risk. We all know the fact that China has lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty these past few decades. China is now the world's leader in renewable energy, and as a result, its pollution levels have been drastically reduced. But the third and final goal has been lacking, and this is where China's government can focus their effort on now. Perhaps resolving the Evergrande fiasco will mark a turning point in this battle. Evergrande's rising debt and cash crunch is a story that everyone in China saw coming. However, the risks are contained because of the high amount of equity in the property market and the prudent capitalization of China's banking system. The government has lots of flexibility to intervene just in case contagion goes beyond Evergrande and spreads across the financial market. Once again, Ding Shuang, the chief economist at Standard Chartered in Hong Kong, concludes, what the market hopes the government will do is come up with a plan that can help the company restructure and refinance in a smooth way. China's bottom line is that it won't allow the Evergrande issue to turn into a full-fledged financial crisis, or let it trigger any systemic risks. I'll close out today's video with these comments from American investing firm Invesco and their feelings about the Chinese investment market. Our international equity team at Invesco continue to maintain their holdings in China and have strong conviction in China and its future growth. China and emerging markets will be the growth engines of the future, although the volatility along the way has been frustrating for investors. Chinese stocks today look extremely attractive, both at a current valuation level, but also considering the fantastic growth prospects. Mutual funds and ETFs that invest in China are seeing some large inflows as investors allocate money away from the expensive US markets and into emerging markets in China. The current fear has provided that buying opportunity. Our international funds exposure to China is primarily through some of the most innovative, forward-looking companies on the planet, primarily tech companies like Alibaba and Tencent. We're focused on that area of the Chinese economy, not the industrials, financials, and real estate. Everyone, I want to thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. And if you enjoyed today's deep dive into Evergrande and you would like to financially support the channel and receive insider access to more exclusive content from me, I invite you to click down below and come and join our Patreon community. But most important, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for future notifications, and I look forward to seeing you all in a future YouTube video.